Peace, brothers and sisters in humanity. I'm back today, and we're gonna go through the hijab. We've got a woman prophet, a Sunni prophet woman, telling people hijab is an obligation. All right, let's listen to her.
Is an obligation? And the answer is yes. There is things in this deen that is not easy, especially in...
So it is an obligation. The answer is yes. She got that from the books that she reads on her back. All right, and she's saying yes, it is an obligation. And hijab, it's an obligation, and it's not an easy thing to do. Okay, let's go.
My first step to accept it is accept it's an obligation. That's the first thing. Now practicing it is the next step.
So you have to accept it's an obligation. You have to accept it, right? Even if there is no truth about it, no evidence from the Quran, right? You have to accept it. Why? Because the Prophet, the Sunni Prophet, she's saying you have to accept it.
Allah will make it easy, Ya Rabbi, help me, I'm weak, that's a different story. But to start with, and why the issue that it is not an obligation? Why? Simply because of this. Because in the Quran, the word hijab, it's used, but it is not used in that context.
You heard that, yeah? The word hijab is used, yet she's got a smile on her face. So the word hijab exists in the Quran, but it's not used as a piece of clothing. So, this lot, they get the Quran, open it, still will nick words from it, right? And use them for other things, for different things. Like the Sunnah, like the Hadith, like a lot of things, like Millah, like a lot of things. Now they've got the word hijab means in Arabic or in the Quran means it's a barrier, right? It's a physical barrier, right? It could be anything: a wall, a door, wood, made of wood, plastic, anything, clothing, anything, right? It's a barrier, right? It has nothing to do with a piece of clothing.
It is not used in the context of dress code. And that's where the confusion comes in. However, there's two verses in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to the dress code of the woman. One is in Surah An-Nur, and Surah An-Nur is 24, the chapter, and the verse is 31. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. Say, Rasulullah, to the believing woman.
So she started with, all right, let's let her talk, because obviously there's a verse before that one she should be using as well. It's very important to use that verse with the verse she just used, okay?
Every believing woman is hearing us. Every believing, you believe in Allah, you believe in the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, this ayah is for you. يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. Lower your gaze. وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنَّ. And guard your private part. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ. That's number one. Don't show your beauty إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا, except what it is obvious or it needs to be shown.
So what is it? It needs to be shown or it is obvious? So you guys are actually saying this verse, but you actually said to cover everything. So some of these Sunnis cover their faces, you can't see their eyes, you can't see nothing. Where did you get that from? Where did you get your explanation from? That's the thing. Because the verse she's actually giving, it does not say to cover the whole body, or it doesn't specifically say what to cover. Do you understand? So where did they get to cover the whole lot from? So there's no basis from the Quran either. She's reading a verse, she's giving it all that look and all that, and a woman next to her, she's not questioning nothing, right? Because she looks at her, the books behind her, and she thinks, this woman knows Islam better than me, so I should really say, listen and follow. But we come into that.
And now, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. That's the verse. يَضْرِبْنَ literally to hit. But in reality, it's not to hit in the Arabic language.
No, it's not. It's not to hit. Okay, it's not to hit. It has so many meanings. Do not just use it on just one meaning and focus on one meaning and make it into a religion. All right? So many meanings that word's got. You can read it into context. All right? In this context, it's not to hit. Let explain it the way the Sunni explain it.
It's whenever two surfaces are attached to each other. الضرب, you use it when someone hits someone. Why? Because that part of your body is touching and getting attached to the other part of the body of the person being hit. Or when we say deaf, the music instrument, and we hit, we call it ضرب والدف because it is touching. يضربنا, so bring something close to something. What is that, Ya Allah? بِخُمُرِهِنَّ. That's the word.
It's obvious here in this verse means to cover, right? Means to cover. Nothing, no hit, no push, nothing. Because in the Quran the word dharb, it does not mean to hit, right? It does not mean to hit in the Quran, right? It has so many meanings, but not what she's talking about. It's to cover. Idrib here, idribna, is to cover. That's all.
There is no hijab here. What is khimar? Khimar.
See, there's no hijab here. She keeps saying it. I don't know if these people are listening or not, right? She keeps telling her there's no hijab here, right? There's no word hijab here, right? But, okay, you're right. Where is khimar? Let's see what khimar is.
To learn the language of the Quran and the language Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used and the Arabic language. And khimar.
So again, Arabic language and the Quran. So they explain the Quran with their Arabic language, the one they speak it today, or from I don't know, they're Arabic with the Quran. So they think they can explain the Quran with their Arabic.
Oh, no. Actually, khamr, alcohol, in Arabic, the root is the same. Anything that covers. And khamr, alcohol, called khamr because it covers the intellect. Subhanallah. يضربن بخمرهن. What is خمرهن? الخمار is a piece of cloth that usually covers the hair.
You see, that's it. That's what I'm saying. Khimar is a piece of clothing that covers the hair. That's it. That's what it means. You see, that's what it means. That's a pure lie, right? A pure lie. It's a pure lie, right? Because the Arab, right, cover their hair, or I don't know, I didn't live with them, but it's obviously, she was going to come to that. So they cover their hair with a piece of clothing. That means it becomes a religion, right? It means the khimar can only be used to cover the head. And when the khimar is, anything you cover anything with, that's a khimar, right? It doesn't even have to be a piece of clothing, right? That's what a khimar is, right? To cover, she said it. Al-khamr covers your intellect. And then all of a sudden, khimar is a piece of clothing to cover your head. Just makes no sense. It's just ridiculous. They don't even use their own language, right? Because what it is, they only come up with few words to suit the narrative they come in with. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not the truth. Even when you go to their Arabic language, right? Khimar means anything you use to cover anything with. Do you understand? Anything. So you can get a piece of clothing and cover your back, right? That's a khimar. You can cover your stomach. That's a khimar. You cover your leg. That's a khimar. Doesn't have to be the head. Does not have to be the head, right? Does not have to be the head at all. If I get a piece of clothing and put some cakes in it, right, and cover it, that's a khimar. Anything you cover anything with, right, it's a khimar. And it doesn't even have to be a piece of clothing. It could be plastic. It could be like, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be a piece of wood to cover, it's a khimar. Anything to cover anything with. That's a khimar. Nothing to do with the headscarf or your head or anything. But let's carry on.
I say khimar, that means the hair is covered. Like when I say a trouser means private part and the legs part of it all.
First of all, trousers has one use only. Right? She gave me an example. I don't know, man, honestly. And these people, you follow these people. She got your trousers. We only had one use in it. The trousers has one use. You can't use trousers on you. You can't put your trousers in your head. You can, but you're going to look mad, right? But the khimar, it's nothing to do with trousers. It's not. That's not an example to actually give. Unless you're an idiot. Let's carry on.
Is covered. And Allah is not saying cover your hair. The hair is already covered.
There you go. That's the funny bit. The funny bit is here. So Allah did not say in the verse to cover your head because it's already covered. So this woman is telling us, all right. So some things God doesn't have to mention because they're already there. So the Quran was sent to the whole humanity, right? To the whole world, right? Did every woman, right, in the world cover her head with a piece of scarf? Did she? Or unless the verse, right? Unless the verse is only to Arabs. It's only to few Arab women that cover their hair because it was too hot. I mean, you go to any hot country, right? You see men and women covering their head with a piece of clothing. Why? Because not to get hurt by the sun. So if the Arabs, right, cover their head because it was so hot, it's not part of a religion. It's not part of the deen. Okay? So you can't make it a part of the deen by saying that because the head is already covered. How the hell do you know? How do they know that? Did they live with the Arab at the time? Was every Arab woman, right? Did every Arab woman at the time covered her hair with a piece of clothing all year long? In the winter, summer, autumn, spring. Do they have any evidence of that? No, they don't. Because they're adding words to the Quran. Because as far as I'm concerned, right, if Allah asked women to cover their head, He would have said to cover your head. But He didn't. He said to cover juyub, which is pockets, right? Pocket. Let's find that. What's she say, the jib?
Jib is the opening. You know that, like the V-neck? The V-neck, that's a jib.
What is it?
And at that time,
a neck.
They used to cover. They drop like the dupatta. These days we see it. Cover the hair.
So at the time they used to do that. I don't know what evidence has she got. And every woman, unless the Quran, because that's what they think. The Quran is only for Arabs, right? It was sent to the Arabs only, right? And God in the Quran says He sent it to the whole world. So He's not going to leave the Arab to explain His Quran, is it? Right? So now women that live all over the world, they have to actually ask the Arabs to tell them how to cover themselves because Allah forgot to mention it in a verse. What happened if all the Arabs died then? How would we know then? What happened if all the Arabs just done, right? All the women that cover their heads, right, all dead. So what happens then? Who's going to explain that verse to us that we have to cover our heads? Who? And she's saying the neck is the jape. You know what I mean? The neck down is the jape. So basically they said they used to put the cover on their head and then God said to cover the neck. So how do you have a cover on your head and walking without that cover just flying off? So to wear a head cover, you have to tie it, isn't it? Where do you tie it? It has to be the neck, innit? It has to be, innit? To keep it together, to keep it on your head. You have to cover it, innit? You have to hold it or tie it or something on the neck. So it's just... And the girl next to her, obviously she's not an Arab, she's agreeing. Of course she will agree because they have status. This lot have status, women and men.
And throw it in the back, but this part is showing. And Allah said,
how do you do that?
This is an order, by the way. وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ إِنْ
How do you put scarf on your head, right, and throw it at the back without it falling off? You have to tie it, otherwise it will fall off. A bit of wind and that scarf will go. Do you know what I mean? That's so the way she just explained it. They put it on their head, but they leave it at the back. How does it work? So these women be chasing their bloody head scarf all day long.
in the Quran means it's an obligation unless there is another place or in the same verse that changes it. And
I'll tell you what changes it. The Quran itself changes it. Right? First of all, let's ask ourselves questions. Where does this hijab come from? Really, where the hell does hijab come from? You think, yeah, this hijab, right? It's been an obligation. It's always been every country, Muslim country, for thousands of years or for hundreds of years, worn a hijab, right? I'll come back to that. Just wait for me, right? You've got to listen to the rest of it. So, please, you can all do the same thing, all right? Wherever you're from, I don't know what country you're from, all right? Wherever you're, if you're women now, wear the niqab and burqa and hijab and cover their heads and all that, yeah? Just go back to the past, all right? Look at the past. Even if you can't remember, just go back to the past. So just exactly what I've done now, all right? Gone to see a video, Algeria, all right, in 1970, all right? This is just 1970, okay? All right? Just keep watching and I'll explain a couple of things to you. You see what that woman is wearing, all right? You see here? See women wearing dresses and the one at the back wearing a white thing, yeah, here, this woman here, all right? This is to be our traditions, all right? For a long time, it was our tradition, all right? This is the hijab. And most women that wear this, they are married, all right? And they're not forced to wear it. They wear it by choice, all right? And you see women, you can see, just have a look, you see women. If you can find me one woman with a hijab, all right? Please, let me know, please. All right? I'll let the video go so you can watch the video, all right? 1970, what was Algeria like, okay? And then I keep talking. All right. Now, while you watch this, I can talk to you about a couple of things. All right. So, Algeria was invaded by the Arabs. All right. We went through a lot of wars with them to bring their Sunni religion to us. All right. They killed 43 years. We've been fighting them, and we fought them after that as well. All right. So, and then after that, a lot of history in Algeria. So a lot of people come into Algeria. So, and then the Ottoman, and then after that the French, and after that, after the French, we were invaded by the Arabs again. I explained to you why. Okay, the Ottoman, we were with the Arabs before, yeah. And then the Ottoman, and then obviously the Spanish, a lot of nationalities, all right? And then the French, the last one, all right, is the French, 132 years. So before that was the Ottoman, all right? And then the French, okay? And then when I looked at the videos, I mean, my mum can tell me about it. I mean, you can talk to your mum. I mean, I spoke to my mum about all this, and he said, well, the French, all right, they tried to actually change our traditions, but they couldn't do it. They really couldn't do it. So they want, if the Algerians wore the hijab in the Ottoman era, they wasn't going to take it off. They will never ever take it off. And the French did not make them change their traditions. Basically, you can see the traditions in this video. And if I go back to the 60s or the 50s or the 30s, all right, that hayek, that traditional dress that women, it's just a piece of clothing, all right, just goes around your body, you know what I mean? That was for thousands of years, for hundreds of years. So it was not, the French could not change anything. So it's not like women wore the hijab then, or they ever knew the hijab before. Before when? Before the 80s, all right? When this all started, when this hijab became part of a religion, when basically Wahhabiyya from Saudi Arabia, right? Wahhabiyin, right? And from Egypt, when Ikhwan, right? When Ikhwan started all that revolution in the 70s and the 80s, right? And then when they actually fought the war in America, right? Those people, right? Those people, when they came back to our countries, right? And a lot of Egyptians came to my country, right? This Ikhwan, right? And this Wahhabiyya from Saudi Arabia, they came to our country and told us, oh, you're doing everything wrong. Listen, we've been at it for hundreds of years. And all of a sudden, in the 80s, this lot showed up and said, oh, you need to cover all women. So it just makes no sense, right? Makes no sense that we didn't know, right? We did not know that hijab existed before the 80s. It's mad, right? It's absolutely mad, right? Now let's go back to the hijabi woman, right? Let's go to the hijab woman. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we go, right? We just stay here. We go to this one. I found a good one now. Look, and it became this, right? Just show your eyes. What doesn't make no sense to me? So I'm just talking about Algeria because I'm Algerian, right? So my mom, her mom, because my mom tells me everything because she's 87 now, right? So she's been through it all, right? Our mom did not wear a hijab. Her sisters, everyone around there didn't wear the hijab. Before the French, we didn't wear the hijab, right? There was no hijab. We had our traditions, like every country has its own traditions. And then all of a sudden, in the late 80s, right? Because that's when it was in Algeria had the Sunni revolution, right? They came from Saudi Arabia, they came from Afghanistan, they used to fight there. They came back from all these countries and started to implement the hijab on people. First of all, people just started believe because obviously they believed in these Sunnis, right? They believed in them, so they followed them. And then it became obligatory because if women that didn't want to wear a hijab, right? They used to be singled out basically, like they're not Muslim enough, they're not I don't know, conservative enough. So women just followed suit because, and their men made them wear it, and it became a tradition. But it has nothing to do with the Islam. It's nothing to do with the Quran, okay? Because Algeria has been a Muslim country for over what 1,200 years. 1,200 years, all right? There was no hijab. 1,200 years there was no hijab, and all of a sudden there is a hijab. First of all, let's just say why did Allah ask women to cover certain bits, and why did he not tell men to cover anything? Are we supposed to go out naked now? So are men allowed to go out naked because Allah did not tell us what to cover? You have to ask all these questions, right? Then you can understand the Quran. All right. Why just women? I mean, why not men? Makes you think, innit? Makes you think. So, because he didn't tell men what to wear, so we can go out there naked. We can. And then the Sunni cleric came, oh, it's above the belly button and underneath your knees. Where did you get that from? Even Allah didn't mention it. Okay. I see women with hijab go swimming in a beach, right, or in a swimming pool or something like that, right? And they wear a hijab. But when they come out, right, everything is stuck to their bodies. Is this halal? Is this halal? Because if they're allowed to wear a hijab and they stick to their bodies on the beach, right? That's not really a hijab, is it? Like your hijab, right? And then you see women now, what are they doing? The hijab is changing slowly. It's becoming like a fashion thing, you know? Like trousers with something tight on the top, and some of them have a scarf, but they wear everything showing like anything, do you know what I mean? Really tight on their bodies, and they call it hijab. And I don't blame them, because in the Quran, in your verse, in a woman's verse, it didn't say not to wear tight clothes. It only says to cover. So if they're going to wear a tight hijab, Well, you can't tell them you can't do it because it's not said in the Quran that they can't wear tight clothes. It didn't say in the Quran not to wear tight clothes. So if the hijab was whatever you're talking about, so women can wear, just cover their head and wear everything tight, so they can show all their bodies in details, right? But that works against you guys. Right. Okay, why? I mean, why do they need to cover the hair? My problem is with the head, right? I don't care. If you want to wear like this, or I wear like this woman, right? And just say, you want to wear like this, that's your choice, right? I don't care. You can wear that. You can dress however you want. But do not say it's part of Islam, or we're trying to bring a verse from the Quran explaining it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. You can't do that. You know, the Quran is clear. It's very, very clear. And it has a reason why it asks women to cover, right? And that's not the reason you guys, these Sunnis think. Right? So let's just say, why does she need to cover her hair? Is it because it's a sexual thing? Is it because a woman's hair is sexual? It's been sexualized? So a man, when he sees a woman's hair, he will go wild? If that's the fact, right? If that's the fact, right? Then men need to cover their hair as well. Because I'm sure some women find a man's hair attractive as well. So we should all cover our heads. We should all cover our heads. Women can't be different. Because if a woman's hair attracts a man's hair attracts a woman. Period. So we should all cover our heads. All of us. If it was a sexual thing. And if it is a sexual thing, yeah, why a woman in her home by herself, right, praying to her maker who actually made her, she needs to cover her hair to pray? Is it, well, I don't know, does it attract God? I don't know. Does her hair attract God if it's sexual? Does it? I don't know. You Sunnis reply to these questions, please, because it makes no sense. There's no explanation. Do you know what I mean? So she covers her head when she prays, but then again she goes and have a shower and gets naked, so Allah can see her as well. So what difference does it make to cover her hair when she's praying or not? If it's to do, she covers her hair because of men, why is she covering her head when she's praying to her maker? Makes no sense. Just makes no sense, right? And all these women like this, right, they're all covered like this, yeah? Or, I mean, everything is covered except their hands, and that's it. Everything is covered. And wearing black as well. Where are they going to get vitamin D from? This is very unhealthy for women as well. Very, very unhealthy. Right? Because some women don't have a bikini, or because even if they have a bikini, they're not going to come out there. I mean, to sunbathe, are they? Because they're very, very Muslims, aren't they? They're very Sunnis, isn't it? Unless you have a garden and you have no neighbours looking at you, right? Women can never have a sun in their bodies. Never ever. Never ever. These women will never see the sun. The sun will not touch their skin. Right? And that's very unhealthy as well. Right? Now, let's just go to the Quran, please. Right? This is just question. I just want to give you some, like, because he's saying Allah told women to all look alike, right? To wear the same thing, and there's such a thing as hijab, right? Hijab is from Islam. And the Quran is nothing to do with clothing or covering your bodies or anything like that, right? But you came up with that. You're stealing words from the Quran and using them against the Quran itself. You know, it's mad, it's mental. Let's just go and find out, why did Allah ask women to cover, right? What to cover as well. Let's go to Surah 33. Ayah 57, Surah Al-Ahzab. إن الذين يؤذون الله ورسوله لعنهم الله في الدنيا والآخرة وأعد لهم عذابا مهينا. Those who hurt Allah and His Messenger, Allah will afflict them with curse in this life and in the hereafter. He has prepared for them a shameful retribution. And then ayah 58 after that. والذين يؤذون المؤمنين والمؤمنات بغير ما اكتسبوا فقد احتملوا بهتانا وإثما مبينا. Those who hurt the believing man and the believing women who did not do anything wrong have committed not only a falsehood but also a gross sin. And then we go to verse 59 and we know why. Okay? يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن ذلك أدنى أن يعرفن فلا يؤذين وكان الله غفورا رحيما. O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the wives of the believers that they shall lengthen their garments. Thus they will be recognized and avoid being hurt. Allah is a forgiver, most merciful. See what Allah said. I said to the Prophet to ask your women and your daughters and the wives of the believers, right, to lengthen their garments. And we know why. Why did He ask them? And they will be recognized. They need to lower their garments so they can be recognized and avoid being hurt. Let's find out in the next verse. This is verse 60, ayah 60. لَإِن لَمْ يَنْتَهِ الْمُنَافِقُونَ وَالَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ وَالْمُرْجِفُونَ في المدينة لنغرينك بهم ثم لا يجاورونك فيها إلا قليلا. Okay? Unless the hypocrites and those with sickness in their hearts and the vicious liars of the city refrain from hurting you, we will surely grant you the upper hand, and they will be forced to leave within a short while. And they keep reading after that. There's a verse 61, ayah 61. So Allah said this, unless these hypocrites and people with sickness stop from hurting you, hurting the believers. Okay, you see why I started that verse from? I started this conversation from verse 57. Right? You can read all that. Right? And why? So Allah asked the Prophet to tell the women to lengthen their garments, right? So they can be seen, they can be recognized and not being hurt. That means being harassed, okay? And then He told the hypocrites and the people with sickness in their hearts and the liars, if they don't stop from hurting, right, the Muslim women, right, He will basically get rid of them. Okay, so who's these people with sickness? I want to know who these people with sickness. So these people with sickness are, go to Surah 33 Al-Ahzab again, verse 32, ayah 32. يا نساء النبي لستن كأحد من النساء إن اتقيتن فلا تخضعن بالقول فيطمع الذي في قلبه مرض وَقُلْنَ قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. O wives of the Prophet, you are not the same as any other women. You shall be righteous, therefore you shall not be chatty, lest those with the disease in their hearts may get the wrong ideas. You shall speak only righteousness. So, now we know why Allah asked the Prophet to ask the women of the believers to basically dress differently, right? Dress differently, and this happened in Medina. We know from the Sunni history that the Prophet spent 10 years in Mecca before he went to the Medina. So these women, these Muslim women in the Medina, and we don't know when in this Medina anyway. So in the Medina, right? This is 10 years, 10 years in Mecca, and then he went to the Medina. So these women used to dress up like any other women in the Medina. And actually, they used to dress up like this in Mecca as well. So this verse did not come down in Mecca as a hijab. You know what I'm saying? This verse came into Medina, and you know when the verse always starts with Ayyuhan Nabi. Well, Ayyuhan Nabi is not part of the message after the deen, all right? After the laws, yeah? It's not to do with that. Anything when God says a Nabi is for that certain period, right? So this, whatever Allah asked the Prophet for the women to cover, is for that time, for this, specifically this moment. Why? Okay? Because Muslim women, they used to dress up as normal, as any other women, all right? But they used to get harassed by these people with sickness in their heart, all right? Or there was prostitution there. I don't know. I didn't live there. But according to this verse here, there is sickness in these people's hearts. So they harass Muslim women. So Allah told the Prophet to ask the women to lengthen their garments so they can be recognized, they're Muslims, right? He didn't ask them to cover their heads and cover everything. He just to dress up differently, put a coat on, put something that shows that you are different. You're not prostitutes, right? So these people in Medina will recognize you and know that you are Muslims, so they won't hurt you because you're guests over there. Do you know what I'm saying? But prior to that, in Mecca, there was no verse telling them to cover or anything. Why? Because they recognized anyway, they lived there. So they recognize, they know them. Do you know what I'm saying? Or there wasn't such a sickness in these people's hearts in a Mecca like it's in a Medina, right? Because Medina means like every person, like whatever religion you are, whatever sect you are, whatever, you all live in the same place. That's called a Medina, right? A Qarya is different. A town in the Quran is different. It's like these people in towns all have the same belief, right? All have the same belief, or they don't recognize any other belief, or they don't tolerate any other belief. That's called a town. That's called the Qarya, right? So that's what it is. Now, when we understand that, we go to the verse she came up with, right? Which is Surah 24, Ayah 30, Surah An-Nur. That's how we start this verse. That's what you should start it from. That's what you should start it from, so it makes more sense. قل للمؤمنين يغضوا من أبصارهم ويحفظوا فروجهم ذلك أزكى لهم إن الله خبير بما يصنعون. Tell the believing men that they shall subdue their eyes and to maintain their chastity. This is purer for them. God is fully cognizant of everything they do. And the ayah after that, 31, now is about women. قل وقل للمؤمنات يغضضن من أبصارهن ويحفظن فروجهن ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا ما ظهر منها وليضربن بخمورهن على جيوبهن ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا لبعولتهن. Right. It's the same verse, but just wait, just wait a second. And tell the believing women to subdue their eyes and maintain their chastity. They shall not reveal their bodies or beauty, apart from which necessary. They shall cover their chests, or not this chest, the cleavage. Right? Juyubihunna is the cleavage. So he's asking women to cover the cleavage with a khimar. with the cover. So they should cover their cleavage, not their chest, because they cover their chest before, isn't it? I don't know. Did they? I don't know. So apparently, if they cover their chest anyway, right? Like she said, they covered their head anyway. So this, according to this woman, they cover their heads, but they didn't cover their chest. But it's not. It's a cleavage, right? Like what we see nowadays. Women going nuts, right? Women going crazy. I mean, the way the people dress up now, you go back 20, 30 years ago, let's say 40 years ago, in the UK, women did not dress like this. They had respect for themselves. In any country you go to, the last 50, 60 years, all right, they used to cover. Women everywhere they used to cover, wear decent clothing. They didn't show their breasts or their asses or anything like that because they had the respect. Because women had respect for themselves. And a woman wasn't sexualized like nowadays because of this internet making women crazy. So some of them just show everything and the rest of them cover everything. So there's no in between, there's no middle ground to these people, yeah? And they don't even understand why God asked them to cover themselves at all. Because they think the sexual objects, so they need to cover themselves, right? But no, it's obviously here. God said, right? He told the believing man, right? They shall subdue their eyes and to maintain their chastity. This is purer for them. God is fully cognizant of everything, but what they do. But He didn't tell them to cover anything. So our man's supposed to go naked. So if I go out naked now, right, would that be all right? Would people just wave at me? Or people would just probably throw stones at me? Why do you think? Why do you think Allah did not ask man to cover? Because we know we need to cover, man. We were born with this. We're not animals. Even animals have respect for themselves, man. We know exactly, every human being knows exactly what to cover, right? All Allah is saying here, don't sexualize your body. Don't try to show your breast. Cover your breasts, man. Even a cow has breasts. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the only reason He's telling him to do that, for them not to get hurt by this sick man. Allah is protecting women against this sick man. And basically subdue their eyes. It doesn't mean that don't look. Don't sexualize things. Don't stare. Because you're a human being. You're not an animal. And He's asking these women, right? It's safer for you from this sick man to cover the bits that you need to cover. And you know what you need to cover. Do you know what I mean? You know, why do women cover their forearm and their bottom legs? I mean, why is that? Is that sexual as well? Is that a forearm of a woman? It's a sexual thing as well. It's a woman's face, a sexual thing as well. Is a woman bottom leg, right? It's sexual as well. So who says exactly, right? Who exactly? Where do you get all these hijabs and covering faces and heads from? Because I'm reading what you're reading, and it doesn't tell me that because the head was covered. The head was not covered. It's not anyway. It's not a norm. Other women in other countries didn't cover their hair. So how would they know to cover their hair? So you do need to get the information from an Arab woman like this one here. Honestly, I don't see here anything to do with whatever they do in hijab, niqab, whatever, burqa. I don't see it here. All I see is, obviously, the sick man, right? Some men are sick, and most of them the Arabs, right? Because some men are sick. Instead of taking those men and take them for treatment, so they can they can be cured basically. Instead of doing that, what the Arabs done, covered all their women. dressing black in the heat. Right? Have you seen how they dress in Saudi Arabia? They dress black, right? Black in the heat. Not even white, so it can reflect a bit of sun or something. No, black. So how sweaty is that, man? In 45 degrees, 40 degrees, right? Instead of those men go and seek help and leave women as individual and have a choice to wear whatever they want, respecting the traditions, because we go back years, the traditions were respected. Respected because men weren't animals like men are now, because everything is sexualized now. Wherever you turn, newspaper, TV, wherever there's women, naked women, do you know what I'm saying? And then women started to copy in these women because they need attraction, didn't it? They need attention, right? And who gave them that attention? This sick man gave them the attention. Do you know what I'm saying? Who gives the attention to this half-naked women, right? Sick man. And then women, some women like it. I mean, I see women nowadays. Not every woman nowadays is half naked, is it? Actually, if anything, very, very tiny minority will go out there dressing up like prostitutes, basically. Do you know what I mean? And then when she gets a sick man, right, harassing her, she complains. And simply here, Allah is protecting women from this sick man. Nothing else. Because if it was obligatory, right, it would have to be a punishment, right? If it's obligatory, it has to be a punishment. And he will said, if you don't cover yourselves, so and so and so, that's your punishment. That's your punishment. But there's no punishment. If anything, we go back to that verse again when he said, "O Prophet, tell your wives, your daughters, and the wives of the believers that they shall lengthen their garments, thus they will be recognized and avoid being hurt." That's the only reason He given them, for them to cover, to basically to dress up differently. He didn't tell them if you don't do that, if you don't cover, right, you're gonna go to hell, or you're gonna get slashes or anything like that. There's no punishment. If there's no punishment, there's no crime. Do you understand? That's how the Quran works. I'm not saying that women should go, I hate looking at naked women. Honestly, I have no respect for them, because they're trying to sell something else, not trying to sell their brains or their personality. So they're trying to attract a man with bits that every woman have. Do you know what I mean? And the only man you're going to attract with that is sick man, according to the Quran. So if you get sick man, don't complain. If you want to attract your future husband with your body, right, and you get divorced, or he goes and look at another woman who looks better than you, don't complain. Just don't complain, because that's what because obviously you're only attracted to your body. So your body will change, and you will find a younger one or a better one. And don't complain. Do you know what I mean? That's all I got to say. You know, like, it's crazy. It's mad. And then you see like a man Sunni can go to the gym, pump up for 5 years, and then he wears a tight top, showing everything to everyone, and then he takes his top off, he wears shorts, right? He can do that. Why? Because he's a man. That's his Sunni belief. But here, Allah is telling us women and men are the same. The only reason some women need to cover their beauty, right, from this sick man. He even told the wife of the Prophet to be chatty in that, because some men have sickness, and even told the followers of the Prophet not only talk to the wives of the Prophet beyond the barrier, right? beyond the barrier, because God knows the hypocrites, right? And some of them have sickness. Who knows them better than Allah? No one knows them better than Allah, right? So, and basically what he said, and tell the believing woman to subdue their eyes, and then he goes like chest, right, and tell the believing women to subdue their eyes, not sexualize man basically, and maintain their chastity, yeah, to be pure, to stay as pure as possible, do you know what I mean? They shall not reveal their bodies apart from which it's necessary. I think necessary could be anything. A forearm, we've got to look at health, innit? The bottom legs, the forearm, and the face and the head, at least. You know what I mean? Because they need to get some vitamin D. They need to get some air. Their skin need to touch, you know what I mean, to get some air, some vitamin D. I think that's necessary, you know what I mean? And that's not sexual, because any man find a woman's forearm is a sexual object, is mad, is sickness. So we should go and take him in and cure them, you know what I'm saying? Take them to the doctor or something. Or find their hair attractive or shit, you know what I mean? Like sexual object is a hair, we should take him to a doctor because he's sick. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've said everything. And then, obviously, he told them not to cover their bodies and all their beauties to their... And then he told these women who they can relax next to, right? Their husband. Keep reading after that, yeah? Keep reading after that. You go to the husband, brothers, people that have no... You know, I mean, it will tell you everything. So basically, he just told them to cover the sexual bits that women know they are sexual bits, you know what I'm saying? Like we men know what's our sexual bits, so we just cover them, do you know what I'm saying? So, and then you can relax after that. So after this, they're her husband or something, she can relax a bit of this dress code. You know what I'm saying? She can relax a bit of this dress code. She doesn't have to be, I mean, to be careful in front of these people, because it's a family, friend, husband, things like that, other women. So that's what it is. The only reason I see here Allah didn't ask men to cover, because they don't get harassed by women, you know what I mean? Because otherwise he would have told them, you know what I mean? Because women don't get harassed by men, or not. I don't know, nowadays probably because he'd be an alcohol or something, it does happen maybe, yeah? But not all women get drunk and harass men. So the ones that have sickness in their heart, most of them are men. That's why God's trying to protect women. The really reason he didn't ask men to cover anything, right? Because he knows women, you know, that's not, no one's going to harass them. They don't get no harassment. You're not going to get hurt. Do you know what I mean? But we all know, it's in us, it's our nature. We know exactly what to cover. We don't need anyone to tell us what to cover. The only reason Allah told them in Medina to cover, because there was sickness, man with sickness in there. That's all. To dress differently, not to look like prostitutes. Probably there was prostitution there, and they used to dress like prostitutes, like everyone used to. They didn't have like all the fashion we have now. So they used to dress up a certain way, right? That their bodies used to show. So Allah is telling them here, dress up, put a garment on. I don't know, wear an overcoat. I don't know what is. Do you know what I mean? Or lengthen their garment so they can be seen as different. And they're not prostitutes, so they you know, these people won't hurt them. That's all I can see here. I don't see all this bashti and wearing all these things, and I don't see that here. I don't see it here, and this only showed up in the 80s, the late 80s. This lot showed up. All right. If you don't believe me, look into your own country, and find out where did this hijab come from, because in Algeria only showed up in 1980s. All right. That's when the hijab showed up. None of it existed before that. Peace out.